All right, I am here with Gregg Majewski. Gregg, welcome to the podcast.
All right, thank you, Kim. I'm very excited to finally be on this one.
All right, well, tell me a little bit about Craveworthy Brands. That's what I want to start with.
So Craveworthy Brands was an idea that I had back in 2017. After years and years of this industry, I wanted to create a platform company done by restaurant people and not by the PE groups. And I wanted to create a place where restaurant operators could actually go operate their restaurants and operate them with the principles that we find dear to our heart. Making sure hospitality was right, making sure food is always key, and not just growing because you have to grow. So over the course of that time, I started slowly investing in brands, knowing that at one point we'd roll everything up. So enter COVID, everything sort of stalled. And then in 2021, I made the first major acquisition where I bought in 19% shares of Mongolian Concepts. Put that together, turned that around, and then pulled the plug and sort of decided, hey, it's time to do everything. So created this incubator platform company where we can now grow our brands as fast as we want, the way we want.
How many brands do you have right now?
So I have 7 brands announced, 4 brands that will be announced before the end of the year. And then on top of that, we're rolling out 13 ghost kitchens for our existing restaurants.
All right. What are the names of the 4 brands? You care to share?
That was good.
Yeah.
So I'll give you one.
All right.
So as of later this week, we'll officially announce that we acquired a brand called Sigri Indian Barbecue. So that is our newest brand to our portfolio. It is fast casual Indian food in a Chipotle type style with kati rolls. And again, if you look at the brands that I have, everything fits a true ethnic or a cuisine base. And that was an area of intrigue that I want to get into before the market goes crazy on it, because it's the next big thing.
Indian food generally, you think?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How many locations does it have?
So it has 2 to start, and then we feel based on what their franchise gen was, meaning they're not ready to franchise, but they were getting between 30 and 40 leads a month. So it should be extremely positive.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. Eventually, I think Indian food is going to take off in the U.S. I mean, it has to a certain extent. It's, a lot more popular, certainly than when I was a kid. But we've been waiting for a while for an Indian concept to emerge because, consumers are definitely going in that particular direction.
So the issue with Indian food for generations was it was too heavy curry. So it was too traditional Indian food. So I waited, and then we've worked with this brand for a little bit, that we've gone ahead and made it more of an American-style Indian food, which is not as overly power of the curry. And the biggest thing that turns people off is walking into that restaurant and having that smell. They don't know it. It's not a bad smell. It's a great smell. But because you're not growing up with that over the years like everybody else, we've found a way to produce the same quality of food, not have that essence of aroma when you walk through the doors.
Yeah, the aroma is definitely strong, and then it sticks. If you ever make Indian food at your house smells like Indian food for probably about a month.
Yep. And so this was sort of the game plan of what we've done with that brand.
Mm-hmm. So what do you look for when you're looking to acquire a brand, just generally speaking? What are your parameters? What do you look for?
So the biggest thing that I look for is that we have to have white space with the brand. So I'd love when there's a giant already in the segment, because then it gives me someone to sort of has already educated the consumer base. But I need to have white space where I can grow the brand on a national scale, where I'm okay being the number 2. So again, based on my background and based on everything else, we knew at that time we could never be Subway, but I could be the number 2 sandwich chain in America and dominate that segment if I did things differently. And I'm okay being the number 2 in everything that I do, as long as I stay true to what the brands are.
Mm-hmm. Did you really want to be Subway?
Absolutely not. So absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
No, we won't. But so let's, tell me a little bit about, like, when you're looking for brands. I mean, are you looking for brands that maybe because some of the brands you've purchased have had, have come on tough times, or they were growing at one point and then they may pull back or something like that. But then you have other brands that, their entire future is ahead of them. Are you agnostic? How do you make that determination?
I mean, I truly want something that I feel has legs. And so with the Mongolian book, especially Genghis and Flat Top, I thought those brands were so unique and so different because they allowed customization of the bowl and the items that you're eating. And that in today's society and where we are after COVID and everything else is the number one item that is on there is that people want to make it the way they want it. And so Genghis has been at the forefront for it for generations. They just never invested in remodels and new menu items and keeping the stores current. They just sort of let it flounder. But by putting the excitement and the better ingredients back in and accentuating the bowl aspect of that brand, we've provided new life to it very easily.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about that though, because one of the challenges I've always thought. No, I actually love Mongolian barbecue, so no question. I really think it's fantastic. But one of the concerns I always have with, I mean, honestly, it's one of the concerns I've had about Subway for a long time, and it's a concern that I have about Mongolian concepts is people can screw up their own food. Most people don't necessarily know what sauce might work best with this or things like that, and then they can experiment too much. And then instead of blaming their inability to make a good bowl, they blame, or a good sandwich, they blame the restaurant. What's your thoughts on that?
So that was exactly what I thought when I bought into this brand. And it's 100% true. Everything you're saying is fact. So what we went ahead and we did is we quickly pivoted and introduced what bowls could be if you make them a certain way. So we went and created a whole lineup of chef bowls and pre-done bowls, trying to force people away from building your own, but still having that experience of cook to order, fresh to order food, but showing them what can happen. We also took a lot of time in educating our staff when we're building the bowl for the person, telling them, hey, that's not the right sauce that goes with that. You need to do this and that, and helping them become bowl experts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's an education process, but having that forefront of the chef menus and the pre-done menus has been huge for us. So in the old ways, in the old stores, 80% of our orders come through build your own. In the new prototype that just opened up in Columbus, we're now 70% the chef bowls, pre-done bowls, 30% build your own. So by creating and changing the model and having it become more of a true fast casual, we're helping to eliminate those mistakes so the brand can have new life in the new prototype.
Right, yeah. I mean, at least suggesting something that people can think. And then on top of that makes digital orders better now, doesn't it?
Well, and again, it pivots yourself so you can be delivery and you can have that digital third party or deliver it yourself experience. We got to remember, Chinese food is still the number 2 delivered product in America beside pizza. It's a huge market for this type of food to be delivered at home, and so we're going to tap into that.
Mm-hmm. So, so you're in acquisition mode. Obviously, you're finding a favorable enough acquisition market to keep buying. What are you seeing out there?
So, I mean, the acquisitions, obviously you see the absolute stupid acquisition numbers that are being thrown out, and PE drives those numbers to absurdity. No way is Subway worth $6 billion. It's just not feasibly possible. And I mean, because of that, everyone is overpricing themselves. But there's a market out there that is very reasonable on what they want to do and how you can get them. I'm looking at those brands and that. I've turned down brands that are saying, I want 12 to 15 times EBITDA. Are you nuts? You got 12 stores. Your brand is really worth this. And yes, pipeline matters, what the brand has done, but the brand's got to be growing and not dying if you're going to buy it at those type of multiples.
Yeah. I don't think actually Subway was purchased for $9.6 billion. It was purchased for something less than that, and then an earn-out provision, which is always, of course,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, so you're still seeing like a lot of sellers have.
So with the experience of COVID and all that government money running out, these mid-market brands are now, the bills are due. And they're not going to be able to carry what they took from the brand. So all these brands are going to be looking to exit because they're not going to be able to live the lifestyle they did when the government was funding everything. Right. And that's what we're seeing. And we're seeing a lot of it.
Yeah. A lot of companies are starting.
A lot of companies are now exploring sales that I never thought would be for sale.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so is it, do you feel like you're kind of like a kid in a candy store at this point or not?
Yeah, I can go as big and as fast as I possibly can. And again, it's the right time for somebody doing this to sort of come in and sort of find the brands that they really believe in because everything's going to be for sale at some point.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many brands do you have now, not counting the 4 you're purchasing?
So 7 brands are open and operating today. 13 ghost brands are about to be rolled out in our stores, and we can talk about why we're doing that and stuff like that. But It is 7-8 with Seagrig. So, and they are BD's Mongolian Grill, Genghis Grill, Flat Top Grill, Lucky Cat Pokey, Crafted Burger Bar, and Wing and On.
Okay. And so why are you going so big into the ghost brands?
So obviously everybody is fighting for new ways to build your sales and how to get AUVs up in existing boxes. So looking and seeing the way all these people of opportunity that came in during COVID and put brands in quickly to sort of help restaurants, even though you couldn't make money with them, I saw a model being formed that actually made a lot of sense if the franchisor owned them. And if the franchisor was the one operating them, they could help their franchisees to this additional revenue and still make money. So we created in all of my brands 3 ghost kitchens that go with each brand based on the SKUs that we have or very limited editions to help drive an additional set of revenue base. And so in our test stores, we were able to drive at an annual basis between $250,000 and $500,000 per store by rolling out these 3 brands in every restaurant. That's a huge win for our franchisees and a huge win for us corporately because it pays G&A completely.
Mm-hmm. And you're able to control quality and things of that nature by you're the one controlling the brands?
Because it's our brands. It's because we control everything. We spec the product, we spec the items. When we go into audit the stores, we just audit what they're doing because it's us. There's actual people in presence to make sure food is actually important and good.
Yeah. I mean, I've generally agreed with you. I mean, like virtual brands have held, maybe for the first time in a long time, the ability to, or ever in the restaurant industry, to actually create a brand from the ground up.
Yep.
With little in the way of, I mean, you have to make investment, but little in comparably speaking, in terms of upfront investment. And if it can be successful, you potentially have something really cool on your hands. The problem is that almost all, with a couple of key exceptions, of the virtual brands that have been created so far were run by these third parties that would contract with other restaurants. And, one of the issues with Mr. Beast Burger, and where he is absolutely correct, is that you can't determine quality from one location to the next. Is always been one of the biggest challenges of those brands, for sure.
Because you don't set quality and you allow them to pick whatever, there is no quality standard. So Mr. Beast should be pissed. His name was attached to it and there's no way to actually make that product good. And there are several that have done a good job. Wow Bao is the exception of everything. They have sort of set the guidelines on what is a true virtual partner because they control the product, they give you the product. And, and then you just have to cook it to their specs. Yes, there could be quality issues, but that's in every restaurant. But they're as close to perfect in the way they do it as anyone.
Right. But and Wow Bao started as a restaurant.
Correct. And from a great group that is the absolute one of the best restaurant operators in America, Let Us Entertain You. So, I mean, they are, of course, they're going to do it right.
Yeah, right. Of course. So I want to shift. Well, actually, I want to ask you this question. You're opening a lot of restaurants right now, yeah?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How many locations do you expect?
So we are 110 or 112, and by the end of the year, we'll be about 120. We have 45 under development, and then as we roll out these ghost kitchens, we'll be obviously a significant bigger footprint on each brand, but not sure how I'm going to count those into the total number yet.
Mm-hmm. Now, how are franchise sales going at this?
So franchise sales, since we actually, again, part of the biggest issue we've had with franchise sales is because we keep buying brands and building our team, I have all these dark periods that keep happening to cover franchise law. So we started franchising Budlong, for example, in April. We went live on advertising in May. We took 1,200 leads in 6 weeks. If you close the industry standard of 3%, which is the standard on that, we're going to grow 100 restaurants before the end of the year, before the end of our year, which is April.
Right. Okay. And so there's still a fair bit of interest.
So again, if you franchise something, you have to make sure your franchisees are taken care of. Yeah. And so many of us franchisors forget that. So with Budlong, because it's a new emerging brand, we have found a way to build out stores for as cheap as $60,000 and to as high as $750,000. I haven't opened a store yet personally that's been more than $120,000 because we can do things that most people can't because we want to be in this and we want to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Why do you hate artificial intelligence?
So it's not that I hate artificial intelligence. I think it's making us as a generation stupid. And I think it's a shortcut into the world and how to do the hard work of life. And you see kids today turning in papers, and you see them researching and writing and rewriting their essays. And that's not the way we're going to create a class of the next generation to be better than what we are. So I look at it as the movie WALL-E, and everybody's going to sit there and just sort of use every other tool to make their lives easier. And we're going to forget what we're all about. And I take a great pride in the fact that when somebody walks into my restaurant and puts in an application and it's their first job, it's my responsibility to give them tools to better their lives. And one of the greatest things that ever happened to me is every year I get Christmas cards from past employees, telling me about their life, telling me thank you because I helped them get a job. And that's what we're supposed to be. That's what's so great about this industry. We don't create always the next great restaurant person, but we can create the next great doctor or the next person who finds something, but we install work ethic in them. And if you start eliminating that and giving them these cheats, we're not going to do our job for what is so important to help the next generation.
Yeah. The movie WALL-E was more prescient than I think people ever give it credit for. You're 100% right on that word.
But I mean, every cheat that's out there we're looking to do, and we're taking the human interaction away from everything. And what makes us so special is that we have that interaction with people. Go out to dinner today and look at all the people that just stare at their phones. It's depressing. Dinner's supposed to be, when you go out, it's supposed to be an experience. It's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be part of having that connection with everybody, and they text back and forth at the table. I mean, it's so wrong.
That's true. I mean, that's like put the phone down and enjoy dinner.
Enjoy the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to ask you something. You said something actually in response to something I had said on Twitter on delivery. One of the concerns that I have at the moment, just generally speaking, is the cost of eating out today versus 3 years ago is substantially higher. And it's not just like price increases because of inflation, which of course is natural, but like we have tips, third-party delivery is really expensive. And you have service charges in some segments of the industry and all sorts of other charges. There's so many. And again, I'm not, I know the reasons for all of these things. But I have a concern about overall value. But let's just focus a little. Yeah, specifically about delivery, third-party delivery, because we have, a lot of restaurants are charging substantially higher menu prices on third-party delivery. At some point, do you think that is going to influence how much people order?
It already is.
You think so?
So, when you're able to charge a 20 to 25% markup from what you dine in store, there's absolutely no way that a consumer is going to want to pay that all the time. Plus, then the third-party fees. So it's not just you're paying 20 to 25%, you're then paying the third-party fees. So we've got to, as an industry, have got to look at its delivery as just part of the business. And that doesn't mean you don't mark up the food some. Back in the days with Jimmy John's, we charged a delivery fee on every sandwich. We covered part of that delivery fee, not all of it, but part of it. And so we have to look at these third-party fees in that same sort of valuation. Delivery would cost you 30% if you were doing it yourself. Every order would be 30% additional labor. No doubt about it. That's what it is. That's what a driver costs. So why are we going ahead and marking up an order 25% to a consumer when it's incremental revenue? So what we've done as a chain and as a company is that we've dropped that number back down between 10 and 12% for every one of my brands. And we're not passing everything on. And it's just now part of my labor and part of my revenue stream. It's a cost of doing business.
Wouldn't it be better to just not charge different menu prices and then just increase the delivery fee, or are you not able to do that?
Well, you're not able. Third party doesn't allow you to do that when it goes through DoorDash and all that. You don't get to set those numbers directly. They're a monopoly. They control what those fees are. So now if they order through your site, yes, you can charge that. And if you order directly, it's way cheaper. You just charge a flat delivery fee. But if you're ordering through those third-party aggregators, they control what those fees are, which means we have to mark up our product a little bit.
So you don't have the choice.
No.
But to mark up the menu prices. No. See, the thing, my problem with that is that in many respects, that's just flat-out customer unfriendly.
Well, yeah.
Because we're still talking about this, even though it's been like
again, it's going to take someone bigger than us and me to go in there and actually fight the issue. And again, like everything and the credit card swipe fees and everything else that we're facing, you've got to have somebody who's willing to say, this is effing stupid, pardon the language, but it's time we change this and fight back. And right now, nobody's willing to do it because we're so afraid of losing those sales, because that's what's holding us together.
Is it really, is it really that scary to lose delivery sales?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it that big of a business?
It's that big of a business. I mean, delivery sales now amount towards our out party or third party deliveries, and an average restaurant is between 15 and 20%. And if you're not doing that, you're missing so much opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and most people are over 30 on those services, and it's what's keeping doors open.
I am not a delivery customer, and I haven't been. And anybody who's listened to my podcast probably more than twice probably knows that. But so I don't quite understand it. But I mean, people are willing to pay for it. But shouldn't you be?
It's the same way as AI. It has allowed us to get lazy, and so especially this younger generation, they'll deliver a McDonald's cheeseburger and then pay $7 to have it delivered. I mean, they just don't get it. And again, hey, you always hear the story, the consumer's dumb enough to pay, you go ahead and continue to up your price. But that's not what we should be doing in this industry. We should be doing what a consumer should pay, and that's what we should charge them, so they want to come back more often. And that's not happening right now.
Yeah. Gregg, this was fantastic. Really appreciate you joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. I absolutely love it at any time.
Awesome.
Hey viewers, thanks again for supporting Room for Seconds. If you found this episode inspiring, interesting, or any bit informative, please hit that little subscribe button down at the bottom so you never miss an episode. In my 26 years in this amazing industry, I've been blessed with incredible mentorship. This show is my way of giving back. Follow me on LinkedIn, search Gregg Majewski, on Twitter, @Gregg_Majewski. If you still have room for more, visit our website at media.craveworthybrands.com. You'll find more videos, shows, notes, blogs, resources, and an easy way to get in touch with the Craveworthy Brands team. I'm your host, Gregg Majewski. Thanks again for tuning in to Room for Seconds.